The White House declined to explain what legal authority Trump would use to evict people from Washington. What do you mean evict them? What does that mean? I would love to hear this explained. Like, you're going to put him on a bus. Okay. You're going to put him on a bus. Okay. And then where do you take them? So Trump orders homeless people he passed en route to a golf course to leave Washington, D.C. I guess he's going to evict them from one street corner to another. I mean, even David Blaine's assistant goes somewhere. I mean, right? In a social media...
Throw it in golf course, like that's a good burn.
So
all these assholes step over a homeless guy on the way to get vegan food.
In a social media post on Sunday, Donald Trump has demanded homeless residents of Washington, D.C. leave the Capitol or face eviction. What do you mean you're going to evict them? What are you going to... So let me guess that why don't you just treat them like immigrants and provide them with housing? Right?
Yeah, did you send those ones home from the hotels?
Because apparently we got a lot of hotel space. But if you gave them housing, then that would ruin the whole cruelty power push charge you get from, that's a rush, that cruelty power rush you get from stomping on others. But here, according to The Guardian, he told the homeless, leave or you're going to get evicted. And again, promised to use federal officers to jail criminals, even though the violent crime in the city was at a 30-year low. Okay, we can debate those stats. The homeless have to move out immediately, Trump wrote. They have to move out. They have to pack up their stuff, call the moving van. Shortly after being driven from the White House to his golf club in Virginia, we will give you places to stay, but far from the Capitol. Whoa, gear up, everybody who lives far from the Capitol, because here we go. Here we go. And consider that most of these homeless people are probably veterans. How appropriate to keep them from any contact with the Capitol, the place that sent them to war in the first place. So here's his Truth Social post. We're having a news conference tomorrow in the White House. I'm going to make our Capitol safer and more beautiful than it ever was before. The homeless have to move out immediately. We will give you a place to stay, but far from the city capitol. Where is this place to stay? That's what I wish he would have laid that out. The criminals, you don't have to move out. We're going to put you in jail where you belong. It's all going to happen very fast, just like the border. We went from millions pouring in to zero. So I bet you in his head, what Donald Trump is thinking about all the praise that Rudolph Giuliani got for cracking down on crime and making New York safer when he was. Remember, there was a long.
I remember that.
Remember that? How they got rid of the graffiti and there was the broken windows theory, right? So you don't let little crimes go. You prosecute all the little crimes because then that makes the bigger crimes go away. That was the theory. I think that broken window theory turned out to not be true. Not to actually work.
The guy renounced it. Who came up with it? Or
the guy who came up with it renounced it.
It's like any other thing. There's an element of truth to it, and then it's going to be executed by lizard people. So it's not going to be whatever ideally you thought it was going to be, like every single system ever given to us.
Be prepared. There will be no more Mr. Nice Guy. I think that's a typo. I think he was saying no more Mr. Ice Guy, because that's what he is.
I like the criminals are going to get housing.
We want our capital. Yeah, the
criminals will be given shelter.
That's right. But not.
What is going on?
The post was illustrated with 4 photographs, all apparently taken from the president's motorcade along the route from the White House to his golf course. 2 of the images showed a total of 10 tents pitched on a grass along a highway on-ramp just over a mile from the White House. The 3rd image showed a single person sleeping on the steps of the American Institute of Pharmacy building on Constitution Avenue. Well, let me say this. And I said this when Trump came up with a idea during the campaign to fix homelessness. He's the only one talking about it. Yes, he gets in his car to go to a golf course. He sees homeless people all over the place. And he's like, hey, we got to do something about this. How come no one else has thought of a solution to this problem? Why does it come down to Donald Trump, real estate developer, former game show host, to want to address it? Nobody else has even come up with it. They spent $24 billion in California to fight homelessness. I would say none of that money went to fight homelessness. It all went to corruption and graft. That all of it. So we have with a non-government organization. So we have private organizations. They call them NGOs, non-government organizations. And then the city or the state will give them hundreds of millions of dollars to go handle the homeless problem and then they take the money, and what do you think they do with it? They put it right in their pocket. They hire their cousins, they hire their husbands, their nephews, and everybody gets a cut. That's what happens to the money. And so
like any third world country, just like you call third world, that's where you live. You live in a country that does that.
So that's what happens in third world countries. Everything's about corruption and graft, and that's why nothing works. Well, that's happening in America.
It's probably worse, actually.
So Trump doesn't go. So Trump looks at this problem and he doesn't go, boy, I wonder what the problem is. Why in the richest country in the world do we have homeless people sleeping on on-ramps? He does go, how do we tackle this problem? His way to tackle it is tell them you got to move.
Well, on Twitter, are they on their social media to see that message?
I don't think so. I don't know how many homeless people go to Truth Social. The fourth image showed the line of vehicles that whisked Trump to his golf course, passing a small amount of roadside litter on the E Street Expressway near the Kennedy Center. Trump's post promoted a previously announced news conference on Monday, which he has promised will essentially stop violent crime in the Capitol. So we just showed you that in our other video, where his big plan to stop crime in Washington, D.C. is to take over the police department and federalize them and bring in National Guard. In a subsequent post, he said that the news conference at 10 a.m. Monday will not only involve ending the crime, murder, and death of our nation's capital, but it will also be about cleanliness. Because that's the worst part about homeless people. They're so unclean. That's really the problem. I was like, I wouldn't mind if they were just, a little bit, if they were a little bit more coiffed. So despite Trump's claims, there is no epidemic of this. Of course, Kurt and other people would dispute this, that there is no epidemic of homelessness or violent crime in the Capitol. There's a lot of I'll tell you this. There's a lot of homelessness in the Capitol.
Everywhere.
It's everywhere. It's in every city. I don't know. There's not a city I go to that we don't see homelessness.
That's why we need more wars.
I think we should spend more money on the Pentagon. And why
am I hearing
Trump
about,
is doing? Everybody's, when you see homelessness, you go, why don't they spend more money on bombs? And Trump's doing that.
Yeah.
So that's good. According to the community partnership which works to prevent homelessness in Washington, D.C., on any given night, there are about 800 unsheltered persons sleeping outdoors in the city of about 700,000 people. A further 3,275 people use emergency shelters. And 1,065 people are in transitional housing facilities. So they're claiming there's only 800 people living on the streets in Washington, D.C. Are they really?
It's like the number of, they'd say the number of rapes, and it's like nobody knows what the number is. The most of them aren't being reported, and all these are all like just nonsense things. They're utterly corrupt. It's always has been. D.C. is well known for that. Like I said, I don't see why they don't just build houses. Supposedly, Trump told Jerome Powell to lower interest rates to make housing more affordable, but like, why don't you build houses and put the people in them?
There's a house. Could I just tell you this? Tucker Carlson has talked about this, how his kids in their late 20s both are fully employed and they can't afford to buy a house in America. So there's a problem. And in my old neighborhood in Pasadena, super blue collar neighborhood, everybody there works with their hands. There's a house on the corner of my old block, just a regular house. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was bought in 2010 for $400,000. They just sold it last week for $1.5 million. It over tripled in 15 years. So now a $400,000 house is now a $1.5 million house in a blue collar neighborhood.
Yeah,
I'm in the rough side of Pasadena, in a blue collar neighborhood.
Hey, you know how they make fun of China for having all those empty, crappy buildings
Yeah.
that no one lives in? Oh, wow, they have all these extra housing. That's weird.
That's weird. Asked by Reuters, the White House declined to explain what legal authority Trump would use to evict people from Washington. What do you mean evict them? What does that mean? I would love to hear this explained. Like, you're going to put them on a bus. Okay. You're going to put them on a bus. Okay. And then where do you take them? The president controls only federal land and buildings in the city. Trump told reporters on Wednesday that White House lawyers were already studying the possibility of legislation to overturn the law granting the Washington, D.C. self-rule and imposing direct federal control of the Capitol. I'm all for doing something about homelessness. But again, this seems very akin to criminalizing it. And I've said this before on the show. It costs $130,000 a year to put somebody in a jail cell in California. How much do you think it takes to put somebody in an apartment? I'm going to guess less than $130,000. So I know whatever idea they going to come up with is going to cost way more than it should.
But Jimmy, how is the prison industrial complex going to turn a profit?
How are they? That's right. So Paul M. Davis says, this is the most disturbing article I've read in a while. Trump's executive order to clean up the streets will involuntarily commit many homeless to mental institutions without due process. Are there even mental institutions to hold these people? Because we got rid of all our mental institutions. There aren't any mental institutions. That's one of the big problems. And it didn't just start under Reagan. It finished under Reagan. It started in the 50s, closing down mental institutions. So we don't have capacity. We don't have capacity to deal with these mentally ill people, the drug addicts, all that stuff. Are there empty mental health facilities somewhere with empty rooms everywhere? And do you think so? But here's the real kicker. The executive order says it can be used on anyone who poses a risk to themselves or others or are living on the streets. So it's not just for homeless and will normalize the government locking up anyone it deems a threat without constitutional due process. So that is a little chilling that you won't have due process.
We don't have that now. They could just take. I thought they could just take you anytime they want for any reason, and we had that since 2014.
Well, all they have to do is say you're a terrorist. So they could say you're an eco-terrorist.
A stochastic terrorist.
Or a stochastic terrorist. And they don't have to give you a trial. They can just lock you up. It's called indefinite detention.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're already in that, man. You might as well clean up the prison we live in.
Again, well, so we got to wait and see how this plays out. I would love to see, again, the only positive is that Trump is actually talking about it. When was the last time you heard a politician talk about doing something to fix homelessness?
I'll say this, Jimmy.
I can't remember anybody talking about it. Again, in California, they spent $24 billion. None of that money did anything.
No, they wanted to keep it. Democrats want to keep it. They want to keep it. A bunch of Republicans probably do too. Ali Sadiq did my podcast. I recorded a podcast with him when he was here, and he was telling me about a funny thing from prison. Was that because a lot of people that are drug addicts, they got to go to prison. Actually, that's the only way they're ever getting clean is if you put them in prison. But he said something made me laugh about, like, you'll see people in prison and because they just got in, and sometimes people start to look they'll look better, like because they're off of drugs and you didn't realize what they even look like until they've been in prison a few months, and because they can't get the drug, they like blossom in prison. That's a real thing, and there's a bunch of people roaming the streets out here. They got to put them in prison. They got to put them in prison. There's nothing else they could do with them. They're that bad of drug addicts. Fentanyl, which, by the way, the government brought here, okay? The previous administration allowed that in, and I'm sure well before that. Fentanyl mixed with meth is going to produce just rabid, something you've seen in a movie. I've already seen it a lot. It makes people rabid. It's crazy.
Well, I'm all for the opening up of mental health facilities. And as Dr. Drew explained on our show, it's very hard to take someone off the street, even if they're a danger to themselves. And, I think we got to change some of those laws. I'm not for imprisoning people against their will or putting people somewhere against their will. But if someone is obviously a danger to themselves and a danger to others living on the street, We got to do something about it. And we have the resources. We just don't want to spend it. And the way they
My
spend
girl went
it.
to jail.
So what they should, what's that?
Jenna went to jail. She was drunk driving. That's the only way she got sober. Was going to jail.
So the idea that we have instead of the city of Los Angeles hiring people that work for the city and appointing a director of homelessness to go fix everything, and all the money we're going to spend goes through that agency, so now we can track it and we can hold somebody responsible. They just divvy it out to private organizations called NGOs, non-government organizations. They take the money and nobody knows what they do with it, and then it all disappears.
Oh, you know the other thing, Jimmy? A lot of these people only can get their meds by going to jail.
Oh,
you know how you can't get medicine?
Yeah.
That's the only way they can get their meds.
Imagine if we took $24 billion and just built affordable housing. Let's say we took $12 billion, built affordable housing, and then we took another $12 billion and we built drug treatment facilities and mental health facilities and staff them. Imagine if we did that. We could do that. But instead, what we did was we just, like every third world country, we gave that money and they corrupted it. They just gave it to their political cronies.
You know, that's a great jobs program, training people, half the population, to treat the other half that's hopelessly addicted to things. That sounds like some infrastructure, like a real jobs program where a lot of people would be employed, because it seems like a big job.
And another big job is telling jokes to people. Like true. You can see me in Rutherford, New Jersey. We'll be in Edmonton, Vancouver, and Calgary. Then we're going to be in Chicago. We'll be in Appleton, Wisconsin, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets. Rejuvenate Coffee is science-backed coffee. Real Arabica beans infused with calcium AKG. That's a compound shown to support cellular energy, metabolism, and even healthy aging. It's not a gimmick. It's not trendy. It's built for people who take their health seriously, who want to show up with focus and strength every single day. If you care about how you feel now and how you'll feel 10 years from now, this is your coffee. Go to 1775coffee.com/Dore and order Rejuvenate Coffee today. Fuel your body, protect your future. Rejuvenate. Come see us on tour in Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Chicago, Louisville, Kentucky, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.